Another day at the office is over at Spillenberg Open for Levy Rosman. Today he was playing 2 rounds in a very interesting open tournament in Italy. In case you were following his adventures in the past rounds, he started the tournament with a victory with the victory in the very first round, followed by 3 draws. And in the round number 5, he was facing Stefano Gonzalez Maldonado, a young Italian player rated 2221. We didn't really have a lot of games to prepare before the game. He was playing all kinds of solid systems. I drew up psychological portrait of the young Italian, and my idea was that he is pretty good when it comes to positional play, and I suggested that maybe Levy could spicy up things. And we looked at some of the continuations what to play and decided to play c4 because there were indications that he might play e5, and Levy was prepared to play that. But I also suggested that since Gonzalez is playing also all kinds of Queen's Gambit decline, that he might play e6, d5 basically for the first time. And it happened. So e6 was played, knight f3, d5, e3. Levy has played the setup before, and his idea is to delay the d4 push so that he's a bit improvising, maybe some knight c3, queen b3, or b3, bishop b2 ideas. Knight f6, knight c3, c6. This was a small surprise. During the prep, we saw that Gonzalez Maldonado, he likes to set up some semi-Slav structures, but obviously we could not have known that he's going to do it from this move order. So here, b3 Levy was decided to continue this way, bishop d6, short castle, d4, knight e7, and we basically transposed to one of the systems against the semi-Slav. Maybe not the most ambitious one, but it's still okay. And here Levy played bishop d3. I'm not sure about this move. I think that bishop e2 is slightly more accurate. And the idea here is that white is better equipped to meet e5. For example, if you play e5, d takes, knight e5, c takes on d5, c takes on d5. As you can see, you cannot take on d5. By the way, this will be pretty bad because of bishop e4 discovered check and you lose the queen. But we reach some sort of a IQP position, meaning isolated queen pawn structure where the pawn on d5 in the long run is going to be a weakness. Now, Levy wanted to get this type of position. But of course, Black doesn't have to do this. Black could, for example, play a very interesting move knight e4. Maybe this was the reason why Levy didn't play this, with the idea that after knight e4, d takes on e4, knight e2, Black plays a 5 e5, he's just doing great. And if he doesn't take it, for example, if Levy plays something like short castle, Black will play f5, maybe rook f6, rook h6, g5, g4, or something else. So it feels like a pretty great Dutch stonewall for Black. We might never know, because Levy played bishop d3. Apparently, the young Italian was pretty ready for this. He played rook e8, queen c2, and pushed e5. Now here the problem is that it's difficult to come up with a move that promises white an advantage. Levy could have also played c takes on d5, with the idea that c takes on d5, d takes on e5, knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5. d4 is a big threat. You need to watch out after the short castle, all kinds of Greek gift sacrifices, knight g4 and queen h4, which is a pretty common topic. I'm pretty sure Levy saw this. On top of that, there's also d4 push. And if he would try to play knight e2 to occupy the d4 square, which is one of the typical ideas of the IQP, Black can still play d4. Because you couldn't capture twice on d4. For example, you take on d4, this is pretty bad because you see the king and e1 now is pinned by the rook and e8. And white just loses. So that's why here maybe white can still play e4, followed by moves like, I'm not sure, maybe something like h3 and short castle, f4, e5 would have been still pretty interesting. So would have been a different game. However, Levy decided to play d takes on e5, knight e5, and knight e5. I'm not sure I like this move. I think that c takes on d5 was a bit better try, with the idea to keep all the options open. For example, if Black plays knight f3 and tries to ruin the chances for white to castle short, Well, maybe there's a room for a long castle followed by rook g1 and use the open g file for some king set attack ideas. Also put a king on b1 and then maybe eventually put the knight on e2, open up the bishop and then try to do some damage at the king side. I mean, okay, of course, black wouldn't have to do that. For example, black would take on d3, but then maybe there's a possibility for Levy to go for the show castle and the so-called IQP strategy again. So I was expecting him to do this, and I was hoping he's going to pick it up. The position would be still level. Levy played d takes e5, knight e5, and knight e5, something I didn't expect, and played long castle. A highly provocative move, but he was seeking these unbalances we were prepping before the game. So the idea here is that he positions the king on the other side of the board that his opponent, and he wants to start a king set attack. But the problem here is that his pawn is not on f3. So he's going to have a hard time to organize a breakthrough at the king side. So the Italian was very precise here. He played bishop e6, Levy played a4, highly provocative move again. Not sure, maybe he got to play like c takes, king b1, rook c8, and queen d2. I was looking at this move, but unfortunately I think black can immediately kill off the game by playing something like bishop c3, and knight e4. I can only imagine that Levy was looking at this and just was not excited at the prospects to enter an equal endgame. Maybe bishop d4, keep the queens on the board, not sure, but the white king is more exposed than black's, like a5, a4. So what happened here is that he played a 4 with some ideas to play 3 g4 and go for a king set attack. And here, Levy started to go wrong. So he played g3, which was a very slow move. So his idea was to play e4 and protect the pawn on f4. What he should have done probably to play king b1 immediately and then keep all the options open, like the e4 push, maybe sack the pawn on the 4 whenever possible. So he played g3. These were very good intentions, but the problem is black has very concrete moves, like bishop g4, hitting the rook on d1, and after rook e1, queen a5. Now suddenly e4 is not quite looking so well. For example, after e4, here, black still retains the better position. I think that Levy simply discarded this because of d takes, knight e4, rook e4, and not sure what exactly was the move here he didn't like. Maybe bishop f3 takes, and it just feels that black is better here. The pawn on h7 quite is not under attack. The rook is hanging. There's always maybe the bishop is trapped. Queen a2 is also an idea in some lines. So Levy quite didn't like this, all of this. So here's, of course, the one who knows a bit better. He played king b1, and I felt it was a very slow move. So I didn't like it, and e4 push is looking now less and less likely to happen. So here, Stefano played bishop e4, a very nice move, pinning the knight, h3, bishop f3, rook f1, and things were going really wrong for Levy. Here, apparently, black had a very nice way to secure an advantage. Bishop g2, nice move with the idea to collect on c3, take on c3, queen c2, and now apparently black doesn't have to trade the queens, because he plays queen a5, rook d8, continues pressing on weaknesses, so whenever white offers a queen trade, black rejects. But the Italian player missed it, played bishop e4. Levy was still doing okay, but he just couldn't gather the courage to sacrifice an exchange. After bishop takes on e1, to play knight g5 and go for a king set attack. So he decided to play rook e2, which was a miscalculation. Now, meaning bishop d3, queen e3, he would be suffering if here Maldonado would have played d takes on c4, queen c4, and something like bishop c3, queen f5, collect the pawn on h3, but probably also just very simple rook d8. White has multiple weaknesses. This is a threat. Maybe after the trade, sometimes the knight is getting on e4. It's just really an ugly position. So luckily, the Italian player didn't pick it up. He played knight a4, queen d4, trading with a mate, f6, queen d7. And here, queen h5 was a rather strange move. I think rook e7 was still better. Rook e7, protect the pawn, and after queen g4, I don't know, play something like rook d8, fight for the d file, and keep the queens on the board. But okay, queen h5 was played. Maybe Levy had to play g4, sack the pawn on h3. That was a very difficult choice. He played queen g4, and this was slightly worse endgame. King c2. And starting from this moment, Stefano, I got coached during the broadcast. I'm pronouncing his first name wrongly. It's Stefano. He should have just slowly improved the position, like rook d3, rook d1, rook d8. Try to trade those rooks, but ultimately white is keeping the position safe. Like h5, king g4. White set up a fortress, black cannot crash through. So Levy was never losing in this endgame. And here the young Italian started to put all the pawns on the dark squares, which is a mistake because he limits his bishop. He played b6, and about here Levy started to play for the win. So he felt he's the better player in an endgame. So here, h6, b5, look at this. Suddenly black has positioned all the pawns except opponent e4 on the color of his bishop, which is not what you want to do. Levy made progress, and this is the moment when the Italian probably made a mistake. a6, rook a1, he took on a5, and I just love the concept by Levy here. He did not recapture the pawn on a5, instead he played the brave king b3. Beautiful idea, and after rook b8, he put the king on a4. In hindsight, maybe the young Italian had to play a4 to open up the a file, but why give up an extra pawn? So what happened here was rook b8, king a4, takes, and suddenly black is in trouble, because even though Levy is down a pawn, he has a very active king, a strong pass pawn. So what happened here is, here apparently the only moves according to engine is rook d8, rook d3, which just makes no sense at all, because then he would leave the b pawn unattended, and from here things went very quickly south for the young Italian. So what happened here was rook b1, bishop d8, rook d2, rook d6. Levy was already threatening to play g5 at some point, creating some weaknesses. King e7, rook d1, and final mistake, rook d8. So black already was completely losing here. And what happened here, maybe final trick, that rook b6 was not working because white cannot win this endgame. Simply trade bishop a5, and key idea, rook a7 simply allows white to win the game, play b6, king a6, b7, or collect opponent c5 and win the game. So finally here, Stefano attempted to activate the rook. Very nice move, king c7, ignoring opponent c5. And after c4, here Levy found a very nice victory. Maybe it made sense for the young Italian to play rook e3, b6, and rook g3, where Levy would have to pick up a pretty careful way to win the game. For example, rook b1 and then only play b7. Because if you play b7 immediately, this is not so clear. Here, black would play, for example, b8 is a mistake, takes, and black actually saves the game. Because he has so many passed pawns and the white king is so far away. Actually, Levy, I'm not sure he saw this or not, but here his opponent played c4, b6, and rook d3. It was very worth noting that c3, b7, c2 with the idea to play rook c3 check made sense to consider, but there's the winning idea. Check, here, f5, king e5, and now you choose whatever you like more. During the broadcast, I was suggesting b8 queen, but actually somebody already suggested in chat b8 bishop under promotion to a bishop is much more powerful. So the idea here is that if black promotes to a queen, checkmate on the board. As you can see, this king is going nowhere. And finally, what happened here is that rook d3, b7, Levy simply promoted to a queen and wrapped up the game. Very nice victory overall for Levy. He managed to chalk up a couple of checks, collect the rook, and the young Italian decided to resign, giving a very important comeback for Levy. 3.5 out of 5 with one more game to follow in the later round.